Welcome to the Honey Inspiration Podcast. I am your host, Ken Waller. Tonight is a special night for me, being as though that it's Father's Day. We're in the Father's Day weekend mode, which is coming on Sunday. I just want to thank some fathers. I'd like to just thank the fathers out there that are doing the right thing, consistently the right thing. I'd like to thank the fathers who are fathers to kids who may not even be their own biological fathers. I want to thank them as well. So if you're a dad out there, you're doing your thing, you're staying the course, you're doing what's necessary to grow that next generation of young men and young ladies. Of course, I said young ladies because young ladies are going to be making the choices on the young men that we're raising. So please, brothers, keep the faith, keep on moving, bring somebody along, teach them what's right and what's wrong. Don't be ashamed to tell your story. Your story means a lot. And that's, again, another reason that this show was taking place tonight. This show was not scheduled. It was a promptu based on the fact that I would like to share a little bit of my story. Some of you may know me from my mentoring. Some of you may know me from the podcast. Some of you may know me from my IT background or whatever. All of that stuff does not matter. First and foremost, I'm a father. And I'm very thrilled to be a father. I take being a father very serious based on the fact that I was a teenage father. And as some of you all know, I lost my daughter about a month ago. My first child at the age of 18, I was a father. Not to say that that was an excuse for me not to be a good father, because I consider myself being a very, very good father at the time, even at the age of 18. I didn't have the luxury of having a child and taking it to my grandparents, to my mother, to watch this child and nurture this child. I had to take care of my daughter myself, combing hair, brushing teeth, washing them up, doing hair, you name it, I had to do it all. So I want to thank all the fathers who actually had to be in that life to do those types of things, and that's exactly what fathers do. I just want to also say that fathers aren't really designed to be this person that you can't get along with your kids at any particular time. And I say that all regards to, even if you haven't been in the life of your kid, there's always the way to make yourself back and available to your child. Not sure if any of you know, but I am the director and the founder of Fatherhood Focus Program. If you want to get a little more information on the Fatherhood Focus Program, you can visit our website at fatherhoodfocus.org. We will help you get back into the lives of your children. I also just have on as guests today, you may see the young men here in the screenshot, who I'm just super thrilled about, because these guys, the two of them are young fathers. It's not the norm to be doing what these guys are doing. It should be, but it's not. They're going way beyond and the extra to be a good father based on the fact that they understand what having a good father really means. The other two that you see on the screen are my sons, and they're going to share their stories by being able to elaborate on how they were raised and how they were raised to be good men and potentially good fathers. So first, I just want to take the opportunity to introduce all of my guests tonight. We have Mr. Kenneth Waller III. We have Marvin Randall, the second, I believe. And we have Kristen Gross.
Yes, sir.
And we have Joshua Waller, my youngest son. And I just want to take an opportunity, guys, if I can, or if I could, just to ask you, and I'll start with you, Marvin, since your child, Bryson, is the oldest. I want to start with you. How was it when you first found out that you were going to be a father at the age that you were? If you just want to touch on how old you were when Bryson was born, I really would appreciate hearing a little bit about that and how you transitioned in to be the father that you are, because I know for a fact you're a great father.
Oh, appreciate that. So I was about 24, 25 when Bryson was born. To be honest with you, surprisingly, I wasn't really nervous. I don't know. I was strangely ready. Like it wasn't really, I didn't really have any nerves. The fiance, we pretty much had that conversation. Like, you think we can handle this? Are you ready? I was like, look, it was going to happen regardless. It just happened sooner than later, and we can do it. Let's do it. So, and we just went head on, really. And yeah, I didn't really have any, of course, little worries here and there, but wasn't really nervous, was excited. I knew he was going to be a boy before he even came out. I knew he was going to be a boy. And yeah, I just, not smooth sailing, definitely a learning process, but been loving the journey so far. So yeah, and he's 5 now, about to be 6 this year. So, and been loving every year.
Yeah, and I would add that he's very bright young man, very inquisitive.
Oh yeah.
We just saw him a couple of weeks ago. I did, and he's an awesome young man, not afraid of much of anything, which is awesome. Christian,
Yeah.
so if you could touch on that same question, how did you feel? How did you feel when you knew that you were going to be a father? And again, I know. Nobody sits around and says, "Oh yeah, tomorrow I'm going to be a dad." So how did you feel about it when you found it?
If I had to sum up my feeling in one word, it would be content. It was, my wife came in the room, she said, "I got a surprise for you," and she handed me a birth control test. And I'm like, "This is it. We're here." Like it's kind of like not, of course, it's not a finish line in life, but it was I've achieved it. I got my family. Got my, love of my life, job I want to have, everything's going smooth in life. And now I have a child. Everything is coming full circle at this point. Throughout the pregnancy and throughout these past 10 months, because my daughter's 10 months old now, it's just been a fantastic ride, just understanding and learning and growing through this whole fatherhood process. I will say I definitely wasn't concerned or worried about anything. My father was a pastor, my mother was a first lady, she was a dean of admissions at Coppin. So I very much grew up in an environment where it took a community to raise a child. And I know I've always had a great community. So I was never worried as to what she'd turn out as, because I knew, and I still know, she has a lot of people raising her. I know it's not just me and my wife raising her. It's a whole shipment of people raising her. It's aunts and uncles, grandparents, friends, church deacons. There's a lot of people pouring into her. So I've never been worried about that.
That's good. That's good. Ken, I want to ask you a question similar to that because, soon you'll be married. You're engaged right now. What do you see in regards to the type of father that you would like to be? I mean, as far as the actual experience by watching 2 of your best friends become fathers, and what kind of impact does that have on you?
Well, first of all, I want to be loving. I want to be a loving father and a devoted father, just like you were to us. I want to be able to have fun with my kids. I want my kids to be able to just absorb everything that you gave me and the things that I'm still learning. Just going through this whole life journey and understanding that there are so many different things that we come across, but what are the most important things that we want to keep, and different things that I want to share with my kids. That's just how I feel. I feel like I'm prepared because I do have a good community. But that's just how I feel.
Now, I want to pose this question a little bit different to you, Joshua. I'm saying that because of your age. Most young men, I hate to use that term most because it's not most. There's a lot of young men around your age that are already fathers. So when you look at maybe some of the relationships that they're having at a young age, how do you view fatherhood? And again, you don't have any children, but how do how do you view, or how would you view fatherhood in the future?
Well, that'll piggyback on what Kenny said. Just, being there for him and just raising up the right way. Of course, you showed us you got to do what you got to do as a father. You got to sometimes give your last. And that's what I think is probably the biggest thing is becoming a parent. You got to give up, things that you don't want to give up, but you kind of have to because it's a job. It's your parent. So just a lot of things I really don't see is like having, kids at my age. I see other people do it. Most people don't understand it, but, I feel like I did.
Now, I want to take a step back, if I could, Christian, and come back over to you. And I want to come back to you based on the fact that you have a daughter. And I'm just going to say, okay, I had the luxury of having 4 daughters, which meant that there was never a guy good enough for my daughters. So what do you think would be the way that you would steer them, or what could you say that was possibly, or would you say that your daughter at a particular age to steer them into making sure they make a decent choice in a man?
One thing that's been very important in my marriage and my relationship with my wife is an open line of communication. Both of us have a really strong amount of communication, and I want to be able to have that with my daughter. So just to give you the lead up to my belief, like I know I plan to take her golfing, doing chess games, just so we can have that intimate time so she can kind of trust dad and be able to open up to dad so we can open up the line of communication for that when that comes up. Now, when that comes up, I want to be the role model that she's had her whole life. So she knows exactly what a good man is, what a good father is, and that's what she knows to look for. Like, of course, I'm going to point out things. We're going to have conversations of what's right and what's wrong for you, why this guy isn't right for you. But I don't want to be defensive to the point where nobody's good enough to date my daughter, obviously. I do want it to be a case where she trusts dad's opinion and she looks at dad and says, I want my guy to be like dad.
And Marvin, I mean, that takes, again, I'm going to spin it back over to you because you have a young man that you have to raise. And I know that the challenges that a lot of young men are having is fostering decent relationship with women. So how do you think you would guide Bryson to that area of being that decent man for a nice young lady?
Oh yeah. Well, first, we definitely built, me and my fiance definitely built the environment of no funny business, no nonsense, always respect, always keep your manners, definitely respect. That's number one in everything. And with dealing with women, dealing with people in general, but specifically with women, we not doing anything but respect. And that's me pounding that in his head constantly. And of course I'm doing it, but he got a real strong mother. So we not playing those type of games.
Right, so it's gonna happen.
Oh yeah. But definitely respect, leading with respect over here.
And that's what, I want to touch on a part of that too, Marvin. I want to spin off that for a minute, if you will. For Kenny and Josh, and I'm sure, Christian and Marvin, your dads taught you guys that number one thing, and that is respect. I see guys out here, and notice I'm not going to say a lot. I'm going to say some guys, young men out here, they'll walk to a door and they'll stand there instead of opening up the door. I don't get it. That tells me a couple of things, is that they were never taught that aspect of respect, to open that door for that lady, to open that door for someone elderly, to open that door, of course, for your daughter, or pull that seat out, or whatever. All those things, etiquette, I call them, etiquette things are important. Not only are they important down the line, but I call them strong nurturing points. And I just want to ask Kenny and Josh, and I know the answer, but I want you to talk about it. How was it when I was drilling those particular things into you guys? How did you feel? But now I believe, and I won't answer that question, I'll let you answer it. How did you feel about me being consistent when I spoke about respect and etiquette? I'll start with DK.
Well, it was always a constant, man. So anytime you hear things day in and day out, it becomes reality for you, And just going through the different relationships in my life, and the kind of gems and jewels you dropped upon me. And even, spin off to having a strong role model, you also understand that with having a mother in your life too, that you wouldn't want anybody to treat her different, or treat her bad, anything like that. So that was kind of my whole idea of just being chivalrous, but also just being respectful towards women in general. But one thing I did learn is that in order to understand how to respect women, I need to understand how to respect myself. And if I know how to love myself, then I'll be able to love someone else.
Wow.
So that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
What about you, Josh?
Well, like you said, you taught us that our whole lives. So like, honestly, that's just second nature to me. Just respecting women for who they are and just respecting anybody, honestly. Because if respect is almost everything in this type of world we live in, because it's crazy out here. And that's just my thing. That's all I really know. That's all I learned. So,
good. My philosophy for that aspect of respect, guys, is that, I use this term a lot, and it sounds kind of crazy. It sounds kind of like a cliche, but this is it. You can't teach what you never learn. So that's why it's so important to pour this into your kids. You keep pouring that respect. You pour that guidance. You pour all those things necessary to have a well-rounded child, whether or not it's a boy or a girl. So that's all a part of this fatherhood thing, to make sure that you're able to teach, and you teach in a sense of love. You got to teach them love and respect first. Everything else is going to come into play. It will. So remember that little cliche. You can't teach what you never learned. And I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a firm believer in that, But I will tell you guys, I really, this podcast is called the Behind the Inspiration Podcast. It's a podcast that basically expounds in the areas of inspiration, motivation, encouragement, all of those things are necessary to be good people. In order to get good, you have to do good. I'm a firm believer in that. I don't want to go too much with my own personal story, but I did not know my father until I was a teenager. Had no idea, never saw him, never did anything with him, didn't know anything about him. However, I had a grandfather. My grandfather taught me everything that I possibly could know. And he found out everything that I possibly could know or needed to know and gave that to me as well. So as long as you surround yourself around someone that's solid, who can teach you by their own experiences, whether or not they were good experiences or bad ones, because sometimes the bad ones help us grow. So just be mindful that, the kid may not be yours. You may see him out, I always equate it back to like coaching football. I've coached football for well over 25 years, different types of sports. And I enjoyed it so much that I felt like I was becoming a father figure for kids that had grew up just like me without that father figure. But I tell you, once you get it and once that light comes on, you got it. And I know for a fact you guys are going to be some awesome young men. I know there's tons and tons of awesome young men out there like you guys. But I just wanted to thank you guys for the Fatherhood Focus program as well, being an integral part of that. I want to thank you guys for joining the Behind the Inspiration podcast. I want to thank you guys for being almost like sons to me and my other biological sons. You guys are some awesome young men. I just wanted to make sure that I would take this platform and the opportunity to let people know that there's young brothers out here that are doing the right thing. We're all not messed up. And I won't even put you guys out there by talking about your professions and stuff like that, but then just say you guys have those. You have the traits. You have everything necessary to have an impact on this world, man. And I don't want you guys to ever forget that. So again, in order to reach one, you got to teach one. And it goes right back to the same thing. You cannot teach what you never learn. So never stop learning, never stop teaching, never stop growing, and just pass it on. When you start talking about building legacy, you build a legacy sometimes not necessarily by wealth, but you can build legacy by knowledge. So I want to thank y'all again. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Marvin. Thank you, Josh. And first and foremost, I want to thank God. So thank you guys again for joining the Behind the Inspiration Podcast. You can find it on any podcast platform that's out here. You can also find us on the YouTube channel. To get more information, you can just watch view the show notes about this particular show. You can share it, like it, and of course, subscribe to the Behind the Inspiration Podcast under Ken Waller Speaks. Thank you very much. God bless. Peace.